Most of our nuclear power stations are getting on a bit like me, and the government predicts an energy crisis unless we build more of them.
But the industry is haunted by nuclear accidents like those at Chernobyl and 3 Mile Island.
Nuclear power is a lot less scary than its worst disasters might seem, but there are lots of doubters. Lucy Siegel's found some surprising supporters.
Sandcastles, sunshine and picture postcard scenes. The Suffolk coast is the quintessential British seaside experience.
But on this beautiful stretch of coastline stands 2 hulking great nuclear power stations. One of them disused, but one of them still cranking out power to the national grid.
And now the government has published proposals for another possible new plant here.
Local reaction to the plans is mixed. Not surprisingly, over the years, the power stations have caused much controversy. Let's face it, nuclear energy hasn't had the rosiest of reputations.
The Atomic Energy Authority have announced that some uranium cartridges in the centre of the atomic pilot wind scale became overheated yesterday.
From safety scares in the UK, to the Chernobyl disaster, to the perennial question of what to do with all that toxic waste. Historically, anti-nuclear protesters have had a lot to shout about. But now, with fossil fuels running out and renewable technologies producing just tiny amounts of electricity, nowhere near enough to supply the whole nation, is it time for Britain to finally embrace nuclear energy or risk the lights going out?
Nuclear power stations like this one already supply nearly 1/5 of Britain's electricity, so it's amazing that many of us know so little about atomic energy. Well, with some trepidation, I've taken up an invite to go behind the scenes at Sizewell B and find out more about this highly controversial energy source. So Tris, how does this work in very simple terms?
Well, I think the key thing is that nuclear power is a form of electricity generation broadly like any other. It creates steam to drive a turbine, okay? So just like coal or just like gas. The difference is that we don't burn fossil fuels, so we're not releasing carbon dioxide.
People have a lot of concerns, so they talk about terrorist attacks, leaks, the waste. There's a lot of uncertainty. Is that paranoia or is that founded in something?
We do understand that people are going to have concerns. What we can assure people as an industry is that safety of the public, of our workers and of the environment is always our #1 priority. In terms of safety, well, I think we wouldn't want to talk too much about security, but there are multi-layered defences in place to make sure that these nuclear power stations are some of the most secure, the most robust structures in the UK.
You might expect the man from the nuclear industry to be so confident, but it surprised me to find that the move towards atomic energy has won support from some unexpectedly green quarters.
Go on then, babies.
This climate change activist risked the wrath of his green allies when he switched sides to back the nuclear option.
Having grown up as a green-minded person, I certainly always just assumed that nuclear power was bad and that we needed to get rid of it as quickly as possible. It was actually looking at the evidence and saying, how can we solve climate change, that was the thing that really turned me round.
For Mark, it's simple. Nuclear expansion has got to happen.
The situation is pretty drastic. I mean, we are seeing now the disappearance of fossil fuels. You know, we're down the other side of the curve probably with oil, and with gas it's going to be coming soon too. So it really is, you know, a case of we need nuclear power if we're going to keep the lights on and we're going to solve climate change. If we get rid of nuclear power, then we're going to have to use a lot less energy.
But some of those living down the road from Sizewell fear for the safety of local families.
Nuclear power is only as safe as its last accident, and you know, we've had Windscale in the 50s, we've had Chernobyl, we've had 3 Mile Island. We are now top priority for terrorists, and we know that nuclear power is one of the things that they're concerned about in terms of targeting. You know, we have a time bomb sitting over there, and I hope to God it never happens, but the fact is that it may, and we have to be prepared for it.
But by no means all locals are opposed.
So how long have you lived here for?
We've now been here 30 years, so we've grown accustomed to it.
Living in the shadow of Sizewell doesn't keep Pat awake at night.
I feel as safe as we can be. We've seen the safety measures they put in place. Obviously, lots of workers there, they're aware of the dangers. They're not going to jeopardise their lives or their safety. And so in a way, yes, we're happy to put ourselves in their hands.
So if you're concerned about climate change, you'll appreciate that we urgently need a low carbon source of energy. But if you want to go nuclear, well, that means putting a lot of trust into the hands of one industry, especially when most of us don't actually understand the science. And I still can't say with conviction that I would be prepared to live next door to a nuclear reactor.
I think that goes for me too. I know we need energy for the future, but you know, with a little one myself, I don't know if families would feel safe. I mean, how safe are they?
Well, I mean, you know, they say they're as safe as houses, proverbially. And the thing where you think about, you know, they have to press a red buzzer and the whole world's going to go into panic, that will never, ever happen.
Why do they build it then if you don't need it? Why is the red button there?
Well, there's a series of controls, and they say, you know, you lock down each zone, and it will really never happen. And if you look at something like Chernobyl, that happened because the system had failed, there was no money going into it, and, you know, it will never happen again. That's what they say.
I think it's odd for the Greens, though. For so long they did say, or lots of them said, nuclear weapons, just like nuclear power, don't want them, nein danke in German, no thanks. And now a lot of them are saying, yes, please.
Yes, bitte sehr, or whatever the German is. But yeah, it's really difficult because so many environmentalists have had to do a sort of about turn, because it's very difficult to prioritise global disasters, isn't it? Because you're thinking, what's the worst? Is it nuclear waste, or is it the fact that climate change is going to raise the temperature by 6 degrees? This is a low carbon opportunity, and we need something.
Adam, have you a view?
Well, I would...
But quickly, though.
I'll get to it. I think it would be fun to live next to the nuclear power plant.
It can be
just to feel that power going through you.
Honestly, I don't want to sound shallow, but I like the way that lady looked.
Yeah.
Not
Okay.
jealous at all.